Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, the good morning people of the tube. Hope you're feeling grand and all is well in your world. Hello, and welcome to another episode of How to Play Like the One and Only Mr. John Frusciante. Today, I would like to talk about John's soloing kind of style, and talk being the paramount word in that sentence, as John's soloing is very hard to teach. His style is very hard to teach because it's not really a theoretical way of playing. It's a musical way of playing, and because it's musical and it's feel based, everyone feels music and makes music differently. So it's very hard to kind of teach this, and that's not just me kind of trying to get out of kind of like, you know, going teaching you it. I can't honestly sit there and say, now I've taught you those 5 positions of the pentatonic scale with the added notes which I showed you, which are paramount to learning everything that John ever plays. I can't honestly turn around and say to you, you know, now you need to put your fingers here, here and here, and you can play out John, because that would be lying to you, and I'm not going to do that. And it'd be very easy for me to just kind of make lessons on showing you his solos and showing you how to play his solos. But I want to get this video in before I start kind of doing that, because I want you to understand them when I teach them, and I want you to kind of feel them when I teach them. I hope that makes sense, because there's a lot of videos where people will show you how to play the solo, but you can play the solo perfect, but until you feel that and you understand it from a musical standpoint instead of a theoretical one, you know, you're just kind of like making, it's not really music, so to say. It's theoretical, and as much as music is theory based, it's more feel based, especially John's playing. I really hope that makes sense. I know it's a bit long-winded and a bit strange to say, but when you watch John play, he's not sat there doing this. You know, he's not just running scales, he's feeling every note, his mouth's open, his guitar is just absolutely... It's him. It's speaking for him. It's another extension of his being. So it's so important to understand that. And once you've got these scales under your fingers and you know them, like they're just in your head, forget them. And you know, you need to kind of know where you want to be. So for instance, like if you want to use scar tissue as an example. If you want to do a sad solo for scar tissue, like a sad sounding solo, so at a moment's notice you can kind of stick on your DS2 and there's you know, at a moment's notice you can channel John. And it's all feel. I didn't think for 1 second where I was. I don't know what position that is. But what's more important about not knowing where that is, that it felt right at that point in time, and that's key. You hear a lot in interviews with John talking about during Stay On My Cane where they'd leave mistakes in because it adds a human thingy to it, and the human aspects of John's playing is very clear. He's not, like I say, he's not just running scales, he's feeling every note, he's really in the music, he's not outside of it, the music's flowing through him, and that's the word, flow. Every John solo, everything John plays has a flow to it, and it just flows, nothing ever feels forced. And it's the same if you watch like Jimi Hendrix, who obviously John's influenced by, everything flows. It just oozes out of these people, and this is something you have to personally kind of dig in and find yourself, inside yourself. It's a very funny thing to kind of try. It's really hard to teach. It's really hard to explain because it's not something you can teach. It has to be kind of earned really through years of playing and playing and playing and playing and learning and just eventually your playing becomes, as I say, less theory based and just feel based. And it's so important to play like John to be feel based, easy, instead of theory based. You have to start off with theory to understand, to understand this from one fret to the other. But once you've got that in your head, it's so important to forget it and go by what you feel, not by what your brain is telling you you should do to show off to whoever's in front of you. Music is paramount to everything, and if you play something heartfelt, people will feel it. If you play something technical, people will be like, "That's great," and then they won't remember it. But if it reaches out and touches them, then you'll remember it. And this is what John's music does to me and to all you out there. This is why he's so special to us all, is because his music and his solos and his guitar playing reaches out and grabs us, and that's more important than technical virtuosity on guitar. Well, at least to me anyway. I feel that feel-based music, you have to reach out, you have to say something, you have to reach out, and you need to pull people in to the music and let them go on a ride with you, and that's exactly what John does. So, let's talk about his soloing. Okay, so, flow. John Frusciante's solo flow. How does he make his solos flow? Simply, it's years of playing. And again, it's not a get out, it's simple as that. It's literally years of playing and learning and just being totally wrapped up in music. That's what it is. It's experience. That's how John plays like he does. It's experience. It's not necessarily it's not necessarily that can be taught. Yes, you can learn the notes to Parallel Universe, Slane Castle guitar solo, but I always think it's more important to be able to come up with something on the spot like that instead of copying it. That way you're making your own music in the style of, instead of making just repeating a point in time, so to say. And it's cool to do that. I mean, I ain't got a single problem with certain solos note for note, because certain solos, like Strip My Mind, are just incredible. And Wet Sand, and even John wouldn't change Wet Sand much, or even Strip My Mind much, but it's very important to have your own mark on it. And again, but to, at the same time, have your influences shown at the same time. So you can hear John Frusciante when you play, even though you might not be playing the exact same solo as him. I hope that makes sense. It's a bit weird, I know, but just hopefully you can stay with me. But like I say, it is just a case of experience, understanding, and relaxing. And being relaxed is paramount to any performance of any kind, be it practicing in your bedroom, rehearsal, or live performance. You need to be relaxed. If you're uptight, the audience will pick up on it, whether it be 1 or 1,000 or 6,000 or whatever. If you're tight, scared, and very kind of tensed up, they'll pick up on it and they will not enjoy it. Whereas if you're relaxed and everything flows, people will get sucked into music, and instead of being outside of the music. And that's what you want. You want people to be pulled in by your playing. Technical virtuosity, yeah, is great, but if you're not reaching out and touching people with your music, like John does at Slane Castle, I defy anybody to kind of listen to some of those solos at Slane Castle and not, especially if you love John and you love his playing, you can't help but feel the passion in his playing, and you just get pulled in, and all of a sudden time, problems, worries just disappear. And that's the most important thing about playing the guitar and playing music, full stop, is you need to, like I said, you need to pull people in. You need people to come with you on a journey, and a guitar solo should be a journey. People should be, absolutely, enraptured really by what you are playing, literally sucked in and go with you until you release them at the end of the solo or the end of the song. And that's what John did. And again, it is all experience, and that's flow that you cannot teach. It has to be earned through experience. And I know that sounds really like a get out again. I feel like I'm kind of like not teaching anything. It's hard. This lesson I've fought and I've struggled with this lesson so much because I've been studying John for so long, like 14 years. It'd be 15 years in May I've been studying John. And I've been studying for so long that I can only teach you how I've learned to play like him. Because I don't know, that's the only way I know how to do it, and this is the way I've done it, is literally through playing and playing and playing and playing and playing and learning everything of his, and just understanding why. Because if John plays something that makes me feel like Wet Sand, for instance, the solo to Wet Sand, then I want to play it because it makes me feel, and then I will feel it when I play it. I don't want to learn it because I don't want to learn a solo that doesn't make me feel anything. Like for instance, I can't, for instance, I can't learn a Steve Vai solo because it does nothing for me. It doesn't do anything for me, and that's just my opinion. I'm not saying Steve Vai's rubbish, because he's not. He's a big hero of John's, and I love Steve Vai. He's brilliant, but I don't. Yeah, his music doesn't touch me like John's soloing does. So if I think of like Wet Sand, for instance, it really takes me somewhere else, and every time I play it, it takes me to a different place. Whereas if you're learning a theoretical solo, it's more taking you to the guitar and going, right, well, I've got to be here, then I've got to be there, then I've got to be here, instead of shutting your brain off and just literally being lost in that moment. And that's key to, again, another key thing to playing like John is lost in the moment. Just forget the world. Forget the world. The only thing that's important at this point in time, if you've got a solo coming up, is the music and what you feel. Those two things, music and feel. That's it. Do what you feel. This is so important to play like John. It's not about the song's in D minor. I can use position 3, 4 and 5 of a pentatonic scale, and I can create a solo out of them, and I can start here and I can go up here and then I can do that. No, that doesn't work. You need to just jump in. Just jump in. Don't be afraid to just jump in to it. If you need to start with a huge bend, start with a huge bend. Just don't think. That's kind of a key. But again, as I say, it's a lot easier said than done, because that takes a lot of time to learn. And I can't. Like I say, it'd probably be easy for me to just kind of like. There's a lot of videos where they'll teach you the notes to a solo, and there you go. Say for instance, like Wet Sand. These are the notes to Wet Sand. This is how it's played. But if you're playing it from a technical standpoint, just because you've learnt it and you're just playing it, then you're not playing it right, in my opinion. It needs to go inside of you. It's not playing from here, it's playing from somewhere in there. And, playing from your brain, when you overthink things, is never a good thing. So, for instance, when you play Wet Sand, it's really... you got to pull funny faces. I mean, I didn't think for one second there what I was playing, because I know that solo so well, it makes me just go inside. And I will get to teaching these songs, but it's so important for me to get this lesson out of the way first and talk about how important it is to feel what you're playing, not think about what you're playing. And like I said earlier on, it's exactly like John said. It's about making music, not showing off. what you can do with a guitar. This is an extension of you. This is not an external part of you. This is you. I know that sounds really weird and Buddhist and Zen, but it's so true. The guitar is, it's you. It's not a separate entity. It's not a guitar. It's a music making tool. You know, it's not just a guitar. It's a guitar if I put it down. Now it's a guitar. Now it's not. You know, you're in contact with it. Play it like, you know, anything. But anyway, so again, it's not going to be massive. I don't think it's going to be a massive long lesson. Again, I am speaking a lot a bit in this because next lesson I want to start teaching songs. Like I said, I'm going to teach scar tissue, and then I can start getting into talking about the solos. And the next you know, in scar tissue, I'm going to teach you the original solos and the Slane Castle solos. I'm going to show you obviously the riff and some of the little kind of like, you know, all the kind of little twiddles. But I'm going to talk about how you know, how you can feel those things. And you know, when you do a Slane Castle solo, you know, conjure up how it was when you first heard it, or think of something that what does that solo bring to mind? You know, at that point in time, what does that make you feel? You know, so when you play it with conviction and meaning instead of just playing the notes. Anybody can play notes. Anybody can sit there and they can play. But to play with feel and conviction is so much more important, and it's, like I said, it's so, I can't stress this enough, I really can't. It's paramount to John's playing, it really is. So, that's enough Zen on guitar solo for the time being. And I'll say, I'm not going to really kind of like teach anything, I want to save that for another, you know, lesson. I think this is more of a kind of talking video, talking lesson, because there's no other way I could think of doing this. There's no, you know, I've been kind of really struggling with this over Christmas, trying to like think of how can I do the next lesson and how I wanted to do it. And the only way that came coming to mind was me just literally just to talk and show some examples. So let's talk about John's chords, kind of progressions, and his funk playing a little bit more. Okay, so this video has already gone on for a lot longer than I expected it to. I kind of got carried away talking Zenness, but again, you know, it is very important. This is a very important lesson. It's something that I've learned from studying John and from John himself, from reading interviews and just kind of like hearing him talk about music, of how important it is to make music, not just be a technical wizard, so to say, on your guitar. It's all about music at the end of the day. Music is paramount above anything else. It really is. You know, it's like I say, anybody can play notes, but not everyone can play feel, so to say. And feel is so important, and it, you know, it's just the key to music. You need people to come with you, and they need to feel what you're playing. And that's something I strive for every time I play guitar. Is I want you to feel the emotions that I feel, and I feel like, you know, that's what John does. When he plays, you feel exactly, you're with him on every note, and that is so important to me. And you know, for anybody who wants to learn play like John Frusciante, that should be paramountly important to you. Okay, so chords. John's chord progressions are gorgeous. One progression I can think of which he uses a lot is, say for instance, E minor, there. So you got your first finger on the 7th fret on the A, ring finger is on the 9th fret on D, little finger on the 9th fret on the G, your middle finger is on the 8th fret on the B, and your first finger is killing the high E. So, and John would play with his thumb over the top, so his kind of chord looks like that. So that's an E minor, and then he'd go up to G major, so that's 10th fret, first finger, and then John would play his power chords like this. He would take his ring finger and he would bar the D, G and B strings with that finger. So you got, and you see him, he's like that. That's the shape of John. So E minor, G major, and it's I Could Have Lied, and then go to D major, so it's that exact same shape, 5th fret, barring the 7th, 5th fret on the A, barring the 7th fret on the D, G and B, and then same shape again, move to a 3rd fret for C, and it's strong melodically. You can hear how strong that is melodically. And this is a reoccurring thing with John's chords. They're melodically strong. Another example, again, we'll go to D minor here. End of By the Way at Hyde Park. Extremely strong chord progression. It's D minor, B flat major, where are we? F major and C major. And you can do them up here. Took me a second there to figure out what I was doing. But you know, these progressions are strong, and that's something, you know, if you want to play in the style of John, and you want to write your own song in the style of John, you've got to kind of have a strong melodic chord progression that already hints at melody, you know, because you can kind of hear how much that, you know, if I go back to that I Could Have Lied one, how much melody is hinted at that. There's so much room for melodic choice there, it's unreal. Instead of just kind of like, you know, just being riff-a-rama-y, there's a lot of melodic choice there, and you kind of like, you can do it in a different way using John's. You know, you can do stuff like that, but melodic sense cannot be overlooked. So Psycho Sexy, which I will get to teaching. Do not worry, I've had a lot of requests for a lot of songs. First one, what I do is Scar Tissue, and I will go on from that, and I will get into John's solo stuff, the bedroom lick. I've had a lot of requests for bedroom lick. I will get to the bedroom lick very soon, I promise. I'll probably do it after Scar Tissue. So next lesson will be Scar Tissue. Lesson after that will probably be bedroom lick. Lesson after that will probably be something like Soul to Squeeze, and then something like Psycho Sexy probably after that, and then getting into other things after that. But like I say, this video is very important on kind of like, you know, understanding that feel thing, which is paramount, and it's transcends theory more than anything else, especially with John's playing. So there's two chord progressions that you can play around with. If you've got a looper, or if you haven't got a looper, you know, you can just hear, those progressions. And also you got another one which is F major, C and D minor, F major, C major and D minor, which is the chorus to Scar Tissue. Scar Tissue is only 3 chords. It's got a 4th chord, but it only uses it in passing, which is E minor, but it only uses it at the end of the solo. But I'll get to that in the next lesson, talking about Scar Tissue. But, so, if you've got a looper, that would be the best way, or a backing track. There's tons of backing tracks all over YouTube, and all over the internet, for songs like Scar Tissue and stuff like that. And it's just a case of, learn those scales that I showed you in D minor, and Scar Tissue is brilliant as well, because it loops over D minor and C major. The actual chord progression to the solo to Scar Tissue is just D major, C major, sorry, D minor, C major, and back to D minor. And there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of freedom to be had there to express yourself and make your stamp on that musically, you know, in the style of John, or not in the style of John. You can do your own thing, but again, it has to flow. You know? Remember the flow. Remember the John flow. We need to ride the John flow. So yeah, that's, you know, that's that. But, you know, always go, you know, I think it's really important to play, if you're going to do a solo, the solo has to go really over a melodic passage for it to, you know, to really No, not necessarily all the time, but I feel most of the time for me, I love playing over like a melodic chord progression. It can make more come out of you, so to say. Okay, so there's two progressions that you can go around play around with. So E minor, G major, D major, and C major, and D minor, B flat major, F major, and C major. Those two chord progressions are really good fun to kind of have a mess around with, and if you find backing tracks for I Could Have Lied or Scar Tissue or any of those nice slow John songs, that'd be a good place to start putting that theory, especially if it's in D minor, like, you know, Soft Squeeze or Scar Tissue. Those scales that I showed you, it'd be a good place to kind of like start putting that into kind of practical usage instead of theoretical usage, because theory is only as good as far as learning. When it comes down to playing, it wants to be a feel thing, not theoretical. So, you just want to shoot your brain off. So, play around with them, and yeah, let's talk about John Funk a bit more. So, okay, so John's funk style is very kind of like in that kind of James Brown vein of the guitar is more a percussive instrument than a guitar. It's more, you know, it's more a part of the percussion. So the best way to kind of like to demonstrate this would be to, if you bar the 10th fret on your G, B, and E strings, so you get those three notes, and just kind of like put your foot. Well, if you can put your thumb over top, again, if you can't put your thumb over top, just keep trying. It will come. It takes time. It takes a lot of time to get used to it. Your thumb can then kill your E and A string, and your first finger can rest on the G string and kill the D string, so it doesn't make a noise. And then what you want to be doing is kind of lightly pressing down the string, not all the way, not necessarily all the way, but kind of just a little bit. Until you get this kind of percussive sound. If you press down too hard, it will become more loud. Which is really cool for when you want a part to stand out, but John's really kind of like percussive funk stuff is that kind of just pressing down just enough to get the notes, and that all comes from your wrist. This hand is technically doing not a lot. It's kind of bouncing, so hopefully you can kind of see my finger. You know, it's pressing down when this hand hits those emphasis kind of notes. These fingers are bouncing, they're not actually touching the strings, they're just there. But the flow, in this instance, comes from your right hand. It has to be nice and loose, you know, your wrist needs to be nice and loose and relaxed. You know, you don't want it, you know, if you kind of see, it doesn't want to be stiff and rigid. If it's stiff and rigid, it's kind of, it doesn't feel right. Whereas if you just relax your wrist and just let it kind of flow like that, just, you know, nice, relaxed. You know, it has to, again, come back to that thing, that flow, that nice, relaxed thing. And again, that's the key to John's funk percussive playing. Is more heavy, aggressive funk playing. What I would do is I would use my ring finger and bar the same notes, the 10th fret on the G, B, and E, and I would use these fingers to mute. And again, this hand is still relaxed, but I'm just hitting really heavy. Go back to the first finger there, but you know, there's two different styles, there's two different ways of playing John Funk there. There's that nice percussive rhythm, James Brown style, and then there's the more aggressive kind of funk style of John's, and that kind of carries through to riffs like Can't Stop, where you've got that nice relaxed flowy wrist. You know, you've got that real nice flow, nice relaxedness. but at the same time, you're digging in and you're kind of picking out those notes, and it gives it a flow and a swing to it, and gives it the funk, so to say. Same thing for kind of like if you have to ask, which is just John starts to riff off live. Well, we'll talk about studio. It's just two notes. First finger wants to be on the 5th fret on your G, and your ring finger wants to be on the 6th fret on your B, and your middle finger goes up over the strings to mute them. So you get this kind of almost face kind of shape, but as it's kind of looking up at you, so to say. So your nails are basically eyes in a weird kind of spooky Stephen King kind of way. My hand is a face, but yeah, that way. That mutes the E, A and D, and your ring finger mutes the E. And you're just barely pressing down, you're just getting enough just to get, and that's going to take some time to get the right amount of pressure. And just to finish off, you put your little finger in on the 7th fret on the high E. But it's got a flow. That's the key word of today. Ladies and gentlemen, is flow. So that's a bit more about John's funk playing. I will be doing more lessons on John stuff, but it will be kind of within the realms of teaching songs, because that is the most important thing to learn to play like John, is to learn songs, but not just to learn the song, really go inside it, and really understand it, kind of say. And I'll get to that in the next lesson of scar tissue. It's going to be crazily in depth. It really is going to be in depth, and so yeah. Anyway, that's enough jabbering on, and yeah. I'd like to hope this video. I know it's been a lot longer than I expected it to be, and I hope I haven't bored you all to tears, and I hope no one's there going, "Is he finished yet?" But like someone said, it's so important to understand some of the things I said. It really is paramount to understand that. To feel and flow and all that kind of stuff. It really is. Some of the stuff I said is so important to play like John. It really is. So, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, this little speaking lesson more than kind of a showing lesson. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again very soon for another video. I've got a couple of things to show you. I've got a new amp and a new guitar to show you. Bye, Patron. And yeah, and I'll see you again. Have a great morning, afternoon, and evening. Goodbye now.